Happy Monday. Welcome to Ink Tank. How's it going, sir?
Dude, don't need nothing but a good time,
That's what I thought. I
Yeah.
thought I needed to set the fucking vibes really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Ink Tank, episode number 19. Chef Tony and Lifts, your usual suspects. This is a community space, so please feel free to join us up here and join the conversation. But Lifts, did you have a nice weekend? What did you do in regards to touching grass?
Dude, I'll tell you what I did to touch grass. Did you know that McDonald's sells a 40-piece chicken McNugget? Let's just start. Let's just start there. I didn't eat the whole thing, okay?
Oh my God.
But I bought one, so there's that.
What did it cost?
Dude,
USD.
like $16.99? Like what inflation?
How much
what?
is that in ETH? Yeah, how much is that in ETH?
Dude, nothing. It's gas.
Yeah, I was about to say it's gas.
But here's
on a bad day, that's gas.
On a bad day, that's gas. But here's the problem though. So I order it, because my wife and I are like, hey, we never eat McDonald's like ever. So let's go crazy. So I'm gonna get this 40-piece chicken McNugget. We're gonna get split a large fry. We're gonna have a good time. So I ordered on the app. It's like $17 or whatever. And then we get to the McDonald's. And they're like, oh, we have this special that's 40 nuggets and 4 medium fries for $18.99. And I was like, you didn't advertise that. And now I'm overpaying for a large fry. So I'm pissed. But I ate the nuggets, so it's fine.
Do you know how many you cleared?
Probably a solid 25. Had to make up for.
Did she have some, or like?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, we had like 15 or whatever, and I had 25. So
okay, so it was like McNuggets for a party of two.
I'm of the personal opinion that McNuggets with buffalo sauce is like some strange, like there's bone-in wings, then there's boneless wings, and then on the rung below that is, or rung above, depending on how you cut it, McNuggets with buffalo sauce. It's just a thing. So,
oh well, I admire your sharing.
What about you? What delicacy did you eat this weekend?
This weekend, what did I do? I had a lot of steak. I made steak one night. Just classic. What was it, like broccolini and no. It was with ube, because like I went to go get a baked potato and they just had a freaking bucket of ube.
As they should.
You guys.
As they should.
Purple sweet potatoes. They are so bomb.
Dude, I had ube pancakes this weekend. We're on that shit, dude.
What? And the reason I got put on to ube because there's such a good, like, badass ramen joint called Sazan.
Nice.
And they do, like, the only thing that they have for dessert there is mochi. So nice. It's just basically like, how many mochi would you like is basically the way that they would say, would you like dessert?
Yeah.
So I got put on to ube from that, and then lo and behold, my local supermarket had it. And Samantha was like kind of sick this weekend, so she didn't eat her steak. So I had back-to-back steaks. I had one the next day.
Of course.
So that was nice.
Legendary. Can I tell you a short story about ube?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I got my introduction, as all other, 30-something, folks do, to ube from Trader Joe's ube pancakes, which are delicious. Would recommend 11 out of 10. But then family was taking a vacation to Yellowstone. And then we got a dinner. It was a chef's tasting dinner at this lodge, kind of outside of Gardner, Montana. Phenomenal. But every dish started coming out with a little bit of purple. And I was like, is this ube? Like, sure enough. So ube dinner rolls, dude. Ube everything. Every dish had it. So it was crazy because I at some point picked up on this, that every dish had an ube component. Like, and they were very different. There was, there was scallops, there was steak, there was all this stuff. And the steak sat on, it was crazy. It was like never mind. I won't even get into how crazy that was. But so then the chef comes up, she talks to us. She's like, how was your dinner? And we talked about the tasting menu. And so I was like, okay, I got to ask, like, what's with the, we're in the middle of Montana. I was like, what's up with the ube incorporation? She was like, oh, I'm from LA. My family's Filipino. We cooked with a lot of ube. So that's how I kind of bring my soul into this kind of like rustic lodge menu. And it was just like, that's what's up. Like, it was so good.
So, yeah. I mean, I think it's not ironic. I bet like it's probably about to like hit us by storm. Like
It's not ironic. It's iconic, dude. I was trying to get an ube sweet potato casserole done for Thanksgiving, but
wow, that would be pretty cool. The element, I think, obviously, moreover than anything, the color, like food.
Yeah,
not
purple.
Many food comes in that color, and it's wonderful. And the truth about it is, it's essentially like, it's simple, right? It's kind of like honey or sugar. It's just like makes things better.
It's just good. I've never been disappointed when getting an ube thing. But what I will say is that if you're sitting here in the crowd and you're like, hey, these two guys are chopping it up about ube, what's going on here? We do what we do. But we are going to try to keep Ink Tank to about an hour tonight. So if you're on the fence about coming up to the stage, like, I don't know if I'm going to get in the conversation, don't wait. Come up.
Because we will pull the plug. Because everybody always like,
what if you just had a hard rug, like a hard rug in an hour,
just
just in the middle of a thing, just dink. That'd be the worst.
Sure you get a thread from Burry. Burry's not a big fan because he likes your outro.
Oh, fair enough. All right, Burry, I'll make sure we get that one in there for you. But so the incubator is obviously on hiatus. For those,
this is true.
Watching the video, I did kind of like a RIP thing, but it's not really RIP. Which, by the way, we are streaming live on X and YouTube. Should you want to see our ugly mugs, we are there. But so incubator's closed for now. We don't really have any indication when that might reopen. Now, we are supposed to have another doodle sesh before the end of the year. I don't know if that's going to discuss the incubator necessarily, but that's the next touch point that I know of.
Yeah, like I think today in Discord, Austin mentioned that there would be something before the end of the year in regards to a doodle sesh, and there's been a little bit of activity in Doodler Hall, and I believe that he mentioned we should get information about the incubator soon, as in like maybe this week. I don't know if I forget what time I saw, but
as well as potentially get some information on founder roles moving forward, which I thought was interesting. So that's pretty cool.
What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
Someone asked, they were like, oh, what are the founders up to these days? Like, we're all wondering, so Austin responded, hey, the founders have different roles. So we're going to talk about this. I think he said we're going to talk about this in the future space. I don't want to directly quote him if I'm mistaken in that, but it did seem like in the near future, we could get some clarity on that, which is cool. And I think that's not like, it seems like, there's a broader meta there about like certain founders, like Zeneca put out a tweet today. He's like, here's where I stand in relation to my project. Thought that was really interesting and transparent of him to do.
Now, then did you see Deezy? He put some tweet out there that was like, oh, I minted a project because I wanted an easy 7-figure.
Yeah.
What? Is it D's?
I guess I called him D's, like, DN, of course.
I thought like, like easy.
Young
Dweezy.
Like Deezy. Young Deezy.
But yeah, so I thought that was like probably him shooting some shots at Zeneca.
I was wondering about that, not to be like, the NFT channel here, but
E-News, yeah.
But I did reflect on it a little bit, and I was like, I know Zen Academy had like the 333 club and some other stuff, but like they didn't mint a 10K PFP collection until Denizen. So I actually don't know if that was a commentary on him, or maybe it was just like a simp side effect or something like that. Cause I don't think they've raised through NFT sales the way that a lot of other NFT projects have, but that's neither here nor there. But back to doodles. So the sesh, Tony, do you have any stirrings about like, what do you think maybe get talked about in the upcoming sesh? Anything you want to hear from the upcoming sesh?
Well, I guess to that point, I think it was Ryanus. I just scrolled through the Discord really quickly about founder roles. I do think that would be interesting. Like, remember we used to do that series,
Meet the Team?
Meet the Team.
Sure.
And that was something that we were cooking for a while when we like had like a little bit of like a plug-in with their PR folks. We just haven't really had that like tapped in access as of late. And that was one that I think the one that we were just about to do was the one with Evan, which was going to be neat, because that was absolutely a question that I had in there, because I mean, starting with whatever 10 people, like, the three of them and just, the devs and whatnot. they definitely have got to be doing something different with all these new people.
For sure.
So I think that would be pretty neat. I bet it's probably like not super like top. I bet it's probably like pretty like nerve wracking to do that from their standpoint though, because like people always pull out the fucking pitchforks when like when their names get mentioned.
Sure.
So hopefully like they can figure out a way to do it well without just like it being like, all right, let's get our fucking tomatoes out and throw shit. Because nobody likes that, to be fair.
Nobody liked that. Yeah, I know that at some point Poopy in the past had mentioned that he was kind of more looking at long-term product, like 3-year track, things like that. And I could easily see there being a demarcation. Like, you have like Squinch, who's maybe like head of product, and he's going to be rolling out the studio and immediate features and stuff like that. And then there's maybe someone like Poopy, and maybe I'm just giving the benefit of the doubt. Maybe his mind is better suited for that kind of like long-term vision stuff. I've joked with and talking about, messages that swapped back and forth in the Discord. And maybe we can get back around to this in a moment.
Sure.
I was asking Austin about like the future of Doodles 2 and some of the user generated content platforms in relation to the studio. And then I just kind of jokingly threw out this thing that I'll, every once in a while throw out there. And I was like, hey, fast forward this track a couple of years, and next thing you know, there'll be an always on persistent Doodles metaverse where all our AI LLM powered, Doodles avatars are running around making crafting wearables. And he was like, are you sitting in on our meetings? And I was like, it's not the first time I've been asked that. And the reason I think that is because I think that's if you have like your 3-year future hat and on, or more hat on, that's the kind of stuff you're thinking about. And so maybe there needs to be someone who's looking that far out, and then you kind of scale that. I've never been on like a product team like that, so I don't really pretend to know how that works, but I can imagine there's a role for that.
Yeah, I like from a community member or holder's point of view, like we can use our imagination pretty well, right?
We do.
I mean, I could imagine about whatever topic, but then you also, I guess maybe from our point of view, like it would be neat to do that with them because like they actually have like the skills and capabilities to execute upon those things.
Yeah, tell us if this could be realized. Yeah,
like is this capable now, right? Or like is this something that's being worked on? And maybe do you have any idea how long it takes to do that? Because I think I think that's cool. I like that mindset, because thinking about like where is this really going to make a difference in an industry?
Yeah.
Not saying like, hey, will I be able to get a giveaway for a fucking figurine or something? Like, do you know what I mean? Or like how does that benefit? Like that part of the conversation, I kind of want to just wipe from everybody's consciousness.
Doesn't that become part of the sales pitch, right?
Hurry! What the?
Collab?
How did you even get up here?
Dude,
who let you in here?
I lurk.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was honestly surprised by you. So wait, what was your question, Murray?
Well, it's more of a comment, rather like that becomes maybe like part of the like package of like collabing with Doodles, right? You could go to XYZ company and like whatever you're collabing to make, XYZ Crocs, apparel, right? And then you give them the ability to plug in their logo or make a thing, which then becomes part of that like private sale package, right? And you just pair that out, and then as you grow and build. And I mean, for me, like when I started getting my wheels spinning was like, yeah, if you could create your doodle too, and then have the ability to like animate it and like voice over it, so we could always just have them come into a circle at the end of the day and be like, dude, what doodles, and like build from that. And then, I would hope that would bring people into the space to want to create. And then if they're doing something with Golden Wolf on like building a longer form production, right? You would think that, or hope that, the cream rises to the top, and then some of those pieces get integrated in from the community into the story.
Yeah. So two separate things there, right? First one, you're talking about, how will brands kind of collaborate with Doodles and what that look like in the future. And I think you're on the money there. Like, I would find maybe actually, now that I think about it, because I was about to say, I don't think we'll see any collabs that don't feature a digital component. But then again, I see things like 2G Tokyo, and so I'm like, there maybe is some exceptions to that where a digital component doesn't necessarily fit in quite well. So I don't want to say across the board, like we will never see a non-physical digital collab ever again. Like, but I think to your point, the majority of brands that collab with Doodles, you're probably going to see physical digital combination. Like, you know, they teased maybe the watch, we'll call it, on or whatever it was at the end of the Doodle sesh. Like, I imagine that'll have some kind of digital component. And to be fair, if they want to generate revenue, this is maybe some kind of model they could sell as a product. You know, that's not just Doodles, maybe other people, but
you know, I just have a curiosity then. As of yet, we have seen pudgy toys where you get a toy and then it gives you a QR code.
So you're talking,
have we seen that? Have we seen that anywhere else?
So you're
like
talking
where it's like
physical first?
Yeah, like Cool Cats just did something, but I don't think that it's physical first though. Or am I not mistaken?
I mean, there's oh, go ahead, Burry.
Oh, I think that's what it is, right? Is the pudgies is you buy a pudgy penguin and you get to build a little pudgy penguin, and then if you're lucky enough to sell a fishing pole, you get like an ETH or something.
Well, and so I think the thing with pudgies that makes it maybe like unique or stand out, I'm sure there's tons and tons of, okay, I'll subtract that, not tons and tons, but there's a few products that are like physical first that come with digital, you know, digital assets. That's not necessarily groundbreaking. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I guess I was just wondering, like, is there somebody else that's doing that? You know, like, hey, scan this QR code to get
the thing that makes it
online
unique is the onboarding experience is kind of like walletless. It's cheap. Those NFTs can be used quasi in an experience. So I think that's what makes it kind of unique amongst other things. Cause like you could look at things like 9DCC. It's like, okay, you buy the merchandise, you get a, you know, NFT that goes along with that, but it's not like that's part of a universe. It's a little more expensive. Like there's many reasons why it's not the same thing.
Right. Like, so, cause I mean, we saw Doodles with what, Crocs and the Croc box.
And then,
but I don't know if it was a scan. I don't think it was scans, right? No, the Pharrell pack was digital first.
So
yeah, they've never done flow. Those have all been ETH boxes.
So that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah. Like, just now that we've seen that Doodles has not done that thing where it's like, hey, physical thing, you can get a digital from it if you want, right?
Sure.
Hey,
will people be excited if they do that in our community? Like, do people care about that, or do people care about like that 9DCC? Like, I bought a shirt and I got the wearable.
Will people care if they do a physical first experience, or like,
yeah, or will people get excited about that, or is that just like something that that's just going to eventually happen?
Yes.
Well, I'd be curious to know what they're doing with the camp stuff, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They're going around and like they've kept all that information, like email, and then what wearables were collected, right?
Right. So, that's what I'm saying.
Could be lurking.
Yeah, camp provides the like a test ground for that, and so once they finally kind of flip the squinch, once they finally flip the switch to create all the Flow wallets using the hybrid custody product on Flow, that is essentially what you're describing. It's a bunch of people who engage in physical experience who will now receive NFTs. So that could be done with anything theoretically.
Okay, so then how does it work on the flip side of like you have created this avatar, you hold things from XYZ brands? How does that go backwards into like a reward system as like Doodle Studio being like the hub?
Well, like right now it's like a burn to redeem, but
burn to redeem, that would be the only thing I could think of.
Or some similar device, or like you stake to redeem or something.
Or can you token gate?
Token gate a store to buy. Yeah, 100%.
XYZ discount.
Yeah, 100%.
I guess on the flip side, also, if there was a physical place to go, that I guess from an OG holder standpoint, yeah, I guess that you just maybe get access to something in person.
The sky's the limit on what you could do. Like, you know,
invite to somewhere,
or like, okay, you get Adidas Complex Con, you know, Flow, you know, wearables, and then at Complex Con you could redeem those for shoes at there. I mean, the sky's the limit on what you could theoretically do, and now what they will do is a different story.
Have you guys talked about the new AI guy they just skipped up?
Greeny?
Greeny.
Yeah, Greeny, dude, but he might not be so green if he's doing AI, you know what I'm saying? He's got to be doing robot training.
He pivoted from AI to crypto. We're bullish on that.
Do you guys know what his actual name is? Like, so I could Google him. I've been trying to find out more information about him. But
Greenberg the third.
No idea. No idea. But I do see Ness has joined us on the stage, and we don't want to keep you on the stage without addressing you. So GNS. How are you doing, man?
Yo, what's up? I don't know, watching some Monday Night Football, chilling in the cord. Some vicious conversation going on right now.
Oh, you chill. Oh, I was
This
like
is
chilling in the
true.
cord. I was like, are you in like corduroys? Is that some like new way to say that? Yeah, just chilling. In the
Not wearing corduroys. I should be probably.
Could be.
but I'm
Wouldn't be
not.
cooler if you did. To be fair.
Yeah, in the cord, we're rocking corduroys.
Just rocking that cord, dude.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
He is not a rapper.
What's the play-by-play on Discord right now?
Dude, it is beef. It is beef.
Play-by-play in Discord. I don't know. It's kind of calmed down. I feel like the temperature has been taken down a couple notches.
Fair enough.
We were on like 600 broil a little bit earlier.
Nice.
Now we're just like at a nice simmer.
We're on the oven self-clean setting earlier.
Yeah, we're on a simmer.
Oh, like
exactly.
The house reeks. Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, we're settling in. So
all right.
That's always good.
Nice. Just to kind of tail end the kind of Doodles avatar, I still am getting used to that conversation or Doodles 2 conversation. This was something, speaking of Discord, I was talking with Austin about in the Discord, because it's just been kind of gnawing at me for quite a long time, actually. I was like, okay, so we have these Doodles 2, avatars with all the wearables. They're kind of motion rigged. They could easily be, added plug and play into like any kind of content generation software, like you name it. But I was like, the OG Doodles, we have these kind of static torsos that are not able to do that. Like, and I've been kind of wondering, like, are they going to have like a Doodles 1.5? Like you get a full body version of your OG Doodle that you can use in similar devices. And so Austin did respond to that, and rather well, I'll add, he was like, okay, currently Doodles avatars, which are Doodles 2, are going to be the primary focus for all of our storytelling efforts. And then he said that OG collection or original collection will be, he said, more crypto native elements is what he said. So I don't know exactly what that means by crypto native elements.
Okay, so here's my guess.
Yeah, go for it.
Space Doodles is a wrapping contract.
Sure.
Why don't they just wrap us into full animated Doodles?
That's a good question.
Because it's not dilutive, and they already figured it out that works, and it's safe.
So he said that's not a bad idea. What he did say is he said that there hasn't been a large demand for that. So not a lot of people saying that, which I get it. So at this point, they're not building anything like that. But he said that they'd be open to it if there was a community demand for it. So that's where I'm like, and this is where it's like,
should we sign a petition?
Well, it's kind of funny because it's like kind of giving away the alpha. Like if you want to engage and like create user generated content, have your Doodle quote unquote be a celebrity, like all these things we kind of originally thought the OG collection might do. Like weirdly enough, like Doodles avatars or D2 might actually be the path to do that. So that's kind of interesting when you think about it like that. So like to me right now, because I've always been like a fan of like, oh, you can do stuff with your NFTs. Because I don't know what crypto native elements are, it at this point seems like you can quote unquote do more stuff with D2, which makes that kind of interesting in regards to like value and what is valued.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what these studio updates are, but I'm kind of like, I'm not going to put the cart before the horse or whatever the stupid saying is, but like I feel like the bar for me has got to be above just fixing the like bugs and the overlays and like,
oh, like it should do something besides just it being
something. Yeah, I mean there's got to be like a little bit more that's going on, right?
No, I would agree. I'd like to think that if that's an expectation, that's a realistic one, not financial advice, but I would assume that it would be like not just, oh, and now it's not buggy. There should be like a new feature or maybe new features that they're, I guess, deciding not to hint at, which I think is kind of towing that interesting line, which people either hate or love, where like they can still be surprised.
The old surprise
or they're like, hey, take my feedback. Don't surprise me with something I don't like.
Right.
That's kind of a thing. Like if I could like hold a microphone out to anybody, I would like to, ask the team, if I was able to ask them, how are they getting community feedback for what they're developing for the community?
Dude, you know what would be really interesting? So like with the Floor app. So as a longtime user, I got access to the test flight, the beta version of the iOS app. So I have the retail version and I have the test flight version. So I very often get new features before they roll out.
Like a beta.
Yeah, exactly. Like that would be a really interesting kind of quote unquote utility for OG collection holders is an opt-in access to like the test flight version. And there could be, I'm not an iOS app developer, so I don't know like if there's like levels to that, like an internal test flight version, then maybe like an alpha and then a beta, if that makes sense. Like, so we're not getting the like raw uncut app, but maybe there is a way to grant early access to features.
To push them earlier.
Maybe they could do that without the test flight app. I don't know.
Tony, you were on the council. I mean, not the council, you're on the watch. Is that not what the watch is involved in or the council is involved in, giving them feedback?
Well, I guess maybe rephrase that. So if it's closed right now, right? If there's no community council, then there's definitely no feedback.
Yeah, but I
through
imagine
with
the
it.
stuff they're pushing out has been had, time for feedback then when it was open.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's
Well, I think
that's true.
Well, Tony, is what you're saying like when the studio goes out of beta, like the opportunity for feedback at that point. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I guess like I was just saying in a bigger sense, right? Because I'm just not exactly sure their process, and I think it might be something that people would like to understand better, because people, like want to understand like people like transparency, right? And I'm not too sure. Like maybe if there was a bit that we got more than surface level, which would be like, hey, here's how we are like looking at feedback, or do you know what I mean? So people can feel more valued. Because right now I think there's just like a lot of animosity going on over unmet needs.
Oh, okay. So this is like I was like, this is less about like product feedback and more about like the general community sentiment, which is fun.
But no, I'd like to say that maybe a cool thing to do would be able to come up with some other way that people maybe got to be a little bit more interactive about their feedback, so they felt more heard.
Sure.
Because like right now, like if you were to make a suggestion or something, like how would you know that it's being implemented? Besides just someone being like, hey, all right, we'll check it out.
I mean, you wouldn't. But even if there was like a focus group or something like that, you still might not. I think that's kind of like part of that kind of process, Like I've had product interviews and I'm like, I have no idea if they give a shit about what I just said. Like, and maybe I'll find out in 8 months. Like now,
so the relationship is different though.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think I don't know the exact implementation, but like, yeah, sure. Like the community could be a great way to gain additional feedback and maybe even to prevent things like, I think we haven't necessarily seen the whole like the Gods season 17 like thing play out yet, whatever they just rolled out. But I know in previous seasons or even like Azerbala, great example, right? Where that was just like they're like, yo, and wait, everyone was like, excuse me. Like there could be an opportunity there to take community feedback before so that like, they don't drop flops.
This is what kind of primed that inquiry, right? I got a thought and I said, let me do it. So Frank DeGods the other day, about a week ago, went on a tirade on Twitter and just shared a ton of different things that were like top of mind about possibly developing, right?
Okay.
Just kind of threw out a lot of stuff out there and then just started taking people's feedback, right? If I would assume like if people like annihilated one of those ideas, they'd be like,
yeah.
Don't you think like that?
But he's doing it like he's doing product market fit like raw.
That's not what I want, right?
Like
that's
he's
not
doing
what I
like
want.
BMF raw. He's like, yo.
That's not what I'm. Yeah, I think that was a little bit far. It could work for him, right? He's a different vibe.
So if there's a spectrum between that and what's on the other end of that, is it Doodle?
I guess no. I guess the other end of that would be like you don't know shit, right? At all?
Ness Burry, what NFT project has been building in silence, like pure silence for 2 years?
I feel like the opposite of product market fit is no product or no market fit, and that would be proof. So that would be where I would vote.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Oh gosh.
But okay, but okay, so maybe we haven't established the other end of the spectrum, but you're saying not as raw dog as Frank, but something a little more.
Yeah, I think that's something that, I've saw like Tree as Doodle Watch is trying to figure out, like coming up with like a survey option. But I just think like it could be a little bit more interactive. I'm not saying that I have the answer, but I think it'd be good if other people.
Speaking of product market fit, the man himself, Austin, what's going on? How you doing, man?
So I think I caught the second half of the request around like more participatory feedback. Do you mind just kind of like giving me like a quick rundown of like what you're identifying as the problem and what you're looking for?
Go for it, Tony.
Yeah, sure. So I guess what I was thinking is, there's like a lot of like things bubbling up right now, right? People angry and all that sort of stuff. So I was just kind of thinking around maybe like areas that could maybe make people feel like they're, I don't know, if more in the know or like they have like a little bit more interactivity for providing feedback. Cause I think maybe like, maybe what me just as a holder that really cares about stuff, I wouldn't want to see something like that happen with the socks again, where like people were unaware of it. Right. And I'm sure that like, maybe if that got brought to like, I don't know, some people, they would have been like, that's not a good idea. And it could have been, do you know what I mean? So I just don't know, like, if there is like a way that that's done or like,
yeah,
to prevent of that stuff.
I think the ask is a reasonable one, right? Which is that like you want to be, you want to have some visibility on things before they launch, whether that or be able to give, direct feedback on the roadmap or things that are what you're looking for and have like an outlet for that. It can take a variety of different views. Like, we had canny support within the studio where we were actually like reading every single one of those tickets as they were coming through. That was a little bit more people using it as bug requests and feature requests. And I think it's something that Remy and I definitely want to take another look at when we're out of beta of how we gathering back there. I think we're also just like thinking through a bunch of different ways that we can do feature flagging and having some products potentially go in beta earlier for the community. And then, the console was also, I think, we definitely had like room for improvement in terms of communication and giving them, some info early. But there were definitely times where I would run things by like certain individuals within the council and ask them, like, what do you think of this or feedback on this? So we definitely have it in pockets. I think it's more of just like, how can we continue to iterate on that? I definitely trust Remy in leading our product to have like different ways of gathering that feedback, and then we'll just continue to think through it. But I think it's a reasonable request, and definitely want to find that balance between surprising and delighting while also giving enough info that y'all feel like you are a part of it.
Yeah. Because like, for example, like, there's one thing that this last Doodle Sesh, if we just want to be specific, that I think people were curious about. And then you have since mentioned, like the duplicator is something that's baking, right? That was another one of those things in the past that was like, when people found out about it, they were like, and that's just one of those things that I would just think like measuring a couple times. I just say it because, I just care about people's sanity and not people going crazy, obviously like these hands are made of diamonds. I think at least I can speak for me and lifts. But no, I do appreciate you recognizing that, because I think that as a holder, right, maybe what people want to try to do is feel like they're part of the success, right? And I think that, like you said, that whole balancing act of giving people a little bit more in the know, like I've had the privilege of being more in the know just in general, like from doing the Doodle Watch and all that stuff. But now that I've been on the outside, I feel it a little different because I'm like, oh shit, I actually don't know what is going on. And it's weird. So I think people that haven't even gotten that before, like would benefit from it, is what I would say.
There's I think it's totally fair feedback, and you know, if it will be to our detriment, you know, one of the things I was really big on in starting was the comms, right, and being able to improve that, and that can come in a variety of different ways. So whether it is doing more of the sessions, doing more informal things, me literally just jumping up here and chatting, I think it can take a bunch of different formats, and we'll experiment with the ones that work. But I think the overarching sentiment is just, you know, wanting to be more involved and hear from the team and get a sense of what's coming, and you know, get those sneak peeks. So I think that's fair.
And
so funny.
And just the last one. Do you remember when you and Joe did those feedback group session calls? That shit was goated.
Of course.
People
and I'd
loved
like
that shit.
I've been toying around with the idea of like doing office hours or something again. I'm trying to I don't want to execute something in a vacuum. I'm thinking overarching around our comm strategy. Obviously, we're going to do another sesh before the end of the year. But I'm also without giving too much away, thinking through a couple key hires right now, which is going to help with taking in a lot of that feedback and structuring it a bit more. So there's part of me that's waiting to execute those before mandating, you know, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But it is, I was literally thinking about that the other day of I really like how Dem, for example, and Azuki does those office hours on a pretty consistent basis. So thinking through different ways of making sure that people, you know, have a direct line and we can balance it.
Well, and just to say this too, Austin, I appreciated our conversation on Discord the other day, because that's just something I've been wondering a while. Oh, where does, you know, D2 and OG collection fit into storytelling, you know, user generated content, all that. And even though you didn't explicitly spell it out, you were able to kind of say yeah, this is the direction we're heading. And that was helpful for me for what it's worth. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, Ingy yelled at me for giving too much away, but
no way, did he? Oh my God. Even that was too much? God. No, and it's funny you mentioned the word sneak. It's funny that you mentioned the word sneak peek, because I almost messed with you earlier today. I think your tweet where you're like, you know, Doodles is my jam. And I almost, for some reason, I felt my spirit compelled me. It almost be like Gibbs sneak peek. Hey, I don't make the rules. You gotta, every once in a while, we're degens. You gotta give us a sneak peek. But dude, I think it's cool to be thinking about, you know, the feedback and things like that. And I will say this too, you know, it's not lost on myself, or I'm sure many others, that, you know, comparing things like the socks and huge brand partnerships are obviously two different things. There's a lot of moving parts with, I'm sure, a lot of those, that it's not like you can say oh, we're just gonna Crocs.
Yeah,
nah.
like we heard on Silk Road about Bape. You know, it takes a year to do a collab. You can't be hey, we're collabing with Bape. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah. There's levels of this, right?
yeah.
That's why I'm really excited to get the studio up and running, because a lot of that, we can cue you into earlier. We can have opportunities for people to come in and test. There are just different, things operate on different timelines. And hold on, I'm gonna put you guys on my AirPods, because I'm literally about to start going to drive to
Chipotle. It's Chipotle. I know.
No, I got Chipotle earlier though. I had a buy one get one on Chipotle. Don't worry.
Oh my gosh, where do you get that?
I know.
Where do you
is that all the points
from?
You know what it is? It's because I complained because they forgot to add my dressing last time. So you know, I hit them with a little look at my history here. You're not gonna hook me up with some dressing.
You hit them with a little feedback.
The vinaigrette
feedback, and they're like, "We are so sorry. Here's a BOGO," which I wish they would have just given me a free entree, because a BOGO is well.
That's two sales, sir.
That's fine.
Oh, you're back now.
You guys
hear
me?
Yeah. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh, it plugged me into the car. I'm driving my roommate's car right now because I sold my car. I'm moving to New York, so I don't need it.
Hey, dude! Congrats on the move. That's really cool.
I love the content community. Do whatever. I don't know exactly what your exact title is these days. But like, you know, in Web3, you're like everyone just bitches at you 24/7 about everything. And like your dressing goes off, so you just like dressing to the head of customer service at Chipotle. I just find that whole idea pretty funny.
It goes around, you know, just
With somebody, I guess.
it's all a cycle. It's all a cycle.
We're all just Karens.
Yeah, we're just a couple of Web3 Karens
Gosh,
out
that's
here.
just like what I. That's
Yo,
what I just
I
feel
am-
like the doodler chat earlier today was just a bunch of Karens.
Dude,
I'm a Karen with my Chipotle.
someone needs to make like a Karen derivative, like the Karen hair for their doodles. They're just.
Oh my god!
I'd like to speak to the manager.
The Binance lady, yeah.
Oh my, Janet
Hey,
Yellen.
new token idea. Hey, Karen.
Binance.
$Karen.
Dollar
Token idea.
Tokens.
Throwing it out there.
So I actually am curious, Austin, your kind of take on this, because we were kind of speculating on like where the studio is heading and what some of the stuff that's going to come out of there. Like, you don't have to like say any specifics.
You want
at
my
all.
take on things that I know? Got you.
Right? Yeah. Things that you know. No, but like it just seems like this stuff is heading in a really interesting direction. Like even something like Portal Coin, as annoying as it was to everybody, illustrated when you can like link the Twitter API to like a separate app and like reward consumer behavior in that way. Like, does the studio aim to do similar things? I'm not saying it's going to do Portal Coin, but like, I'm trying to think of a way to word this. Like, it just seems like really
Incentivizing like in like what interactions, like social interactions.
Yes, I think Julie mentioned that in the sesh. Or maybe in
Quantifying fandom based on social.
There
Like,
you go. You
yes,
guys
yes,
are
yes.
answering your own question.
Yes, and so
Yeah. I mean, I can answer that pretty directly. Yes, like not in the sense of like we're gonna have people like shill doodles for like Portal Coin.
yeah.
I think there's like I don't know.
I'm
not against anyone getting their bag, but I also think that like your rep in this space is all you have, and like it can be a bit short sighted sometimes. But get your bag. I even tweeted something in fact, so it's not like this is like a new concept for me. I literally was like, it is not lost on me that everyone is shilling Portal Coin on the day that Charlie Munger passed, like the greatest long-term investor of all time. So
the juxtaposition,
that's here nor there.
The juxtaposition
was very. It was
good.
beautiful. It was art. But no, I mean we've always been like myopically focused, I think, on digital identity and like what does that mean as more of the world comes online, and like what will it look like to have a different relationship with IP. And it's not just what you do with your own like with doodles itself and like your own ecosystem, but obviously this idea of composability. Like we didn't build in Flow to just hang out in Flow. Like the idea is that, and you guys know, with Flow being EVM compatible and being able to plug into these APIs, it's about combining what you're doing both on and off chain. Like the entire world doesn't just live on chain. And so how can you really show value, like show that you value participation, not only within your ecosystem, but things that benefit that ecosystem. And you can see where that goes, right? Like if you're doing a partnership and you're able to reward someone for actions that they take in your partner's ecosystem, or you're able to whitelist them for a certain product, or give them certain unlockable content, it's a way to kind of like branch that out. And I think what's been interesting is, of all the product launches that Frank announced last week, the one that I was most personally interested in was DID, because I think everyone should be thinking it like that way, of how you're combining and rewarding for on and off chain action. So yeah, it's gonna be a big part. It'll be over time, right? Like it won't be like 100% day one. It'll be about adding to it over time, adding different ways to be to have your participation rewarded. I think is really important.
Okay, that's really interesting. You're making me think now, like, and I'm no, blockchain expert over here, but I think about like ZK rollups. You're pushing complexity to the edge, right, and then it settles on Ethereum. And I guess maybe thinking about you're just making me think about this conceptually, where off-chain actions could essentially be like rollup-esque, in the sense that like you're settling off-chain actions on-chain eventually, which is kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally how Noah, our engineering lead, talks about it as well. Is like a lot of this, exactly what you just said, like roll up and then being able to settle it. He's very adamant that whatever sort of system that we do ultimately come out with, like it will settle on chain, even if all like a bunch of interactions happen, off chain.
Yeah.
So yeah, thinking about it very similarly.
That's really interesting, kind of really compelling. So the hmms started happening now. Now I'm in the stage. That's cool.
Well, you guys got me for 5 more minutes. So if there's any other questions you want to dive into, happy to do it. I didn't mean to hijack the stage. I just saw that I heard some like product feedback questions. I was like, oh, let me jump up and take some feedback.
No, that's interesting. I'll ask you another question as well, because you mentioned the DID thing. I remember Frank launched Detox, which was almost like a private social media, maybe like the shortest way to describe that. But it could reflect back on larger social medias. How do you see, like, I don't know if the studio is its own iOS app, but even if it's a web app, however it's presented, how do you kind of balance?
It's a web app. Just so you know, it's a web app.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it'll be like, you'll go to the actual URL, but it's being built in a way that's extensible to like if we did want to launch a mobile app down the line, it's easy enough to do so.
So it could be a PWA and then an iOS app. Okay.
I need to triple check on the PWA, like if that is out the gate. I'm pretty sure, but like don't quote me on it.
Totally. No, appreciate that. Go ahead, Tony.
Go ahead, Lifts. You seem like you have a line of questioning.
Yeah, so I was kind of wondering, like, how do you balance where like you're trying to drive people to the studio experience to participate on the like actions on the app, but then you're trying to get them to do like social media interactions, other interactions. Like, how do you kind of balance that?
Yeah, I think it's less about balancing. It's more about creating onboarding opportunities at every touch point. Like the physical to digital is actually pretty easy. Between what we've already started. You've seen like us start to experiment with that with like the iPads at camp, right? But you can see where that quickly goes and being able to onboard people directly into the studio, taking their email addresses to having experiences where like if you buy merchandise and you chip in and like what Azuki and Cool Cats and a bunch of others have done, with like IYK and the PBT stuff, the physical to digital is actually like very easy. What is challenging is the digital to digital. Like, how do you get people particularly from socials to the studio, and what does that look like? That isn't going to like completely destroy the algorithm or just like turn people off to like the content itself. And that's one that like we're going to spend a lot of time on, because if people just like hang out on our socials and there's not a really clear call to action for them to get rewarded or for their participation to be recognized, I think we're missing like a key part of the value prop. And given that socials really act as like a top of funnel for us, that's something to solve. So we're spending a lot of time thinking through it.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. Is like, let's say you have these like UGC generation devices and you're sending people out to socials. How do you keep the studio sticky enough to like make people want to come back? Or I don't know, like it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Lifts. I mean, I could just think like if you get XP or levels, like people do that shit. Like people talk in Discord to get
like
levels.
A good point from now.
So like the Discord is easy. Discord is actually like Discord, Twitter's expensive, but with their API changes, thanks Elon. But it's pretty easy to do. Like so long as someone signs into their account, like basically you have them like sign into their Twitter, their Discord or whatever. Like you're all familiar with these. And then you can just ping the API and see, how many messages do they send. That stuff isn't hard. It's how do you think through someone that is watching a video on Instagram, and then how do you drive that to some sort of like call to action to the studio, some sort of participation. That's
like a quest
bigger,
or something.
Yeah, it's a bit bigger of a challenge. The quests are a whole nother. We've spent a lot of time thinking through that as well. And I do not have enough time to get into it right now.
Right. But you're talking about even as simple as like, hey, you're watching this Instagram video, like come to the studio, like link in bio. You know what I mean? That's like, how do you do that?
And exactly. And like, so that's like the link in bio is obviously like a pretty direct way of doing it. It's not really that unique. It doesn't like really move the space forward.
Not very doodly.
It's not very doodly. Doesn't, it's not as much attribution as we would hope for. But that is there. It's just like, it's not a lot of real estate. So it's just something to think through.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine it's difficult. And this is probably just a broader conversation. I know you got to go, but it's like, it's like these apps that are designed to keep you on the apps. And you're like, hey, how about, you get off?
Exactly.
Exactly.
So anything that's going to get them off. Exactly right. So anything that's going to drive you off app, you have to imagine it's going to be a challenge with the social media platforms.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you guys are thinking about it the right way.
We're
to be fair.
Farcaster.
Yeah.
That's the only option.
Dan Romero. This is a shill.
It's like I play with Farcaster a lot. I used to be using I think it was Yup. I think used it for a while.
The cross-platform poster.
Yeah, which was really great. But then it was like, I'm not actually interacting with these other platforms that much. I'm just using it to like post. So that wasn't like as great. But I think a lot about I left the lights on. I think a lot about decentralized media because a lot of what we're trying to solve for on the back end is attribution, right? And like the social media platforms own your data, you don't own your audience. Like there's a lot of challenges that results in that decentralized media is like set up to perform well in. I'm really good friends with some of the guys over at Lens. They actually like helped me with my like pod back in the day when I was doing that. And so I like try to keep up with them. And then I'm on Farcaster, just like figuring out, are there opportunities that make sense? Is this like a big enough, will this grow into a big enough addressable market where like it makes sense to have those platforms be part of your ID or whatever that looks like.
Right.
So definitely have our eyes on it. Just kind of a little bit of a just learn right now. It's been really cool what they've been doing with ERC 6551. I've been watching like Galaverse, what they've been doing on Lens and having like your NFT be your profile picture and it holds things. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, just follow Benny. You'll be good.
Wait, shoot me Benny's info.
Oh yeah. So no, Benny, from Future Primitive. I mean, he is the 6551 guy. He's like living.
Oh yeah.
He's living in the future.
Yeah, send it my way.
I'll do it. Yeah, I'll DM you as
all right, I gotta go see Godzilla.
Wait, Austin, before you go, what time did you say the next duo session was at again?
Nice.
It's end of the month. End of the month. We don't have an exact date yet, but we actually talked about it today in our leadership meeting. So hoping to have a date for you guys within like the next week or so, but it's gonna be closer to the end of the month. So I will temper expectations.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, hey, nice one, Burry, and appreciate you, Austin. Thanks for coming up.
All right, y'all.
Take it easy, dude.
See ya.
Peace.
Wait, is there a Godzilla movie in theaters right now? Am I tripping?
I think it's like a dubbed movie, maybe.
Oh, because I've been watching Monarch, Legacy of Monsters on Apple TV Plus, $9.90 a month. No, I'm just kidding. But it's it's sick. If
this is not an ad.
If you like that stuff, it's sick. So, for what it's worth. Well, okay, that was fun. Was I the only one that's having fun? Did everyone else have fun?
Yeah, that was good.
Sure.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So now, if I can unpack that a little bit,
let's do it.
So like how we've been talking about incentivization of stuff on social media. Sure. That seems to align with something that makes sense. I mean, it seemed pretty obvious that you'd think like a brand moving towards fandom is going to do that. When he started talking about Farcaster and stuff like that too, it made me more excited a little bit more, like like how they are really watching what tech is unfolding. Sure. To try to find something that isn't corny, right? That's what he was saying. He said we don't want something that wasn't doodly. So you don't want it to be corny, and you actually want it to be new and original. So I bet that's like really a pain in the ass a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine they're probably going to test multiple strategies, the tried and true methods, stuff like that. So I wouldn't expect them to not do that stuff. But yeah, it's cool to know that things like decentralized social are on their minds because,
because it actually matters to the Web3 space.
Lord knows we're bullish on it,
Woo!
No, that's cool. No, I might even have to re-listen to that. That was some good insight for the studio for me. Some good questions answered there. That's cool.
Can I ask you a question, Judlips? As a fellow Portercoin chiller, how did that statement make you feel?
Well, as a retired Portercoin farmer,
paper-handed.
It affects me very little. No, I was like, yeah, I mean, kind of like, you're like, oh, you're rep. And I'm like, I personally had a kind of a very interesting approach on it. Like, I've been churning out these Pepe memes like crazy, which apparently is very difficult.
You're doing work, dude.
Apparently is very difficult to do. Everyone who's tried it, like besides me, is like, how did you get to do it? And I'll give you my secret. I think I quite literally tricked ChatGPT into creating Pepe memes. Like, it was like, oh, I can't make Pepe memes because those are trademarked. And I said, I think I scroll back to the message and I think it was something to this effect. I was like, actually, it's not. And then it was like, oh, okay. Like, it just started making Pepe memes.
You just bullied it.
Yeah.
Like,
did you hear you can get better results if you tell it you're going to tip it?
No, I did not. So I, for some reason, it was like 3 a.m. or something. I don't even know what was happening. And I just like realized I can make these farmer Pepe memes, and it just took a hold of me. The dopamine was flowing in my mind, and I made like 37 memes, and I was like, I gotta use them. So I thought I could, I was there for the art. Let's just be clear.
Just buy something good with your shards, dog.
Well, I'm out of the game, so we'll see how much a couple hundred shards gives me, but I sent all my memes. There's been someone else received all my memes, so I'm like, hey, go off, King. Use them. Don't let them be lost.
Did you get a meme? Do you get a meme cut? Do you get a shard cut, dog?
There's no formal contract in place. It's just a handshake agreement,
Dude,
but if you see, I saw someone recycle one of my Pepe memes, and I was like, that makes my heart glow. Like, that's all I wanted is these memes. Proliferation.
Oh,
of
you
memes.
made it, dude.
Yeah.
You got recycled, dude.
That's how I felt. So this person had like 50K followers. They're farming Portal Coin. They use my meme. And I'm like, hey, that's all I wanted. I was here for the art,
You're a part of it. Yeah.
Part of the culture. But yeah, no longer farming. So apologies to but hopefully you were entertained by the artwork. That's I made myself feel a little better that way. But that being said, Tony, any reflections on what we were just chatting about?
I mean, maybe there's a public service announcement, everybody out there, like there's been a lot of angst or animosity around a lot of group chats and in Discord. I think it's just important to remember, like everybody's people behind the PFPs. My rule of thumb is, I don't know, people don't like to have their minds changed, right? If people are steadfast in their values and stuff, like you're just going to disagree with some people. But I like to say, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it. I'd like to,
unless
lower your barrels
on a globe. I get what you're saying, dude.
You did.
Unless you're wrong. Yeah. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, motherfucker. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Discourse is equal opportunity to each other's opinions and speak nicely. That's the way to do democracy in Web3. Everybody can speak and everyone can have their own opinion. Just don't be mean about it, okay?
This isn't a democracy, but Ness, you chortled in a little bit with it was like a robot
usually
voice.
On that, except when someone's wrong on the internet and I know about it, like you just have to let them know. It's part of this code of conduct that we have. Like if there's anyone wrong in any part of the internet and you know about it, you must let them know.
That's like
blockchain backed up.
The fact checkers.
Confirmation
no,
bias.
These are the principles. These are the principles of Web3. It's like interoperability, composability, transparency, immutability, and if you're wrong, you're gonna fucking hear about it. So
yeah,
you know what?
At least
I think what would be a great parlay would be people that are doodles holders applying to be community note people at Twitter.
Nice.
You guys would do such a good job
Utility.
at it.
Discord notes. That's
Discord notes.
Discord
that
notes.
Danny.
Well, actually,
where is Danny?
Well, actually,
Which Danny you talking about, dog?
Danny, the one that makes all those memes, like those like.
Dude, they're not memes. Like half
What
of
are
those
they?
ideas
What are they? What
would
are
be
they?
like
dude, they're
$1 billion
product.
projects.
They're product
Product.
ideas.
Yeah,
Yes.
like half those ideas are like awesome. Like literally.
Is
Here, let
Uniswap
me-
for NFTs? I was like, this is great.
Anyone know who's trying to buy up all these duplicators right now?
Dude, whales, bro.
Institutions
Institutional buyers.
Like,
Institutional buyers.
Yeah,
BlackRock,
nice.
duplicator ETF incoming alpha.
If I could just spend part of my 401k on duplicators, I would be so happy.
I mean, theoretically, if you have a Roth IRA, then you can invest in ETH. And then I don't know if there's any rules against buying duplicators. With that said, ETH. So theoretically, your retirement fund could be made up entirely of duplicators, not financial advice. Just saying. Do with that.
I think you'd be a little bit overexposed.
Hey, you say overexposed.
Yeah, right.
I say underexposed. Potato, potato.
With your retirement, you're retiring on dupes.
Bro,
Okay.
all I'm saying is that
I was going to retire.
we show
I
up
was going to
we
retire
show
on
up to this
stocks.
space 10
I was
hours a
retiring on
day.
stocks.
You
And
saw the graphic the other day.
we're
dude. The guy
underallocated.
just gets his head spun around with the Father Time ticking. Those are duplicators.
Yes.
So if you have enough of them, theoretically, you can live
Okay,
forever.
last thing, because we should rug soon. BT's new obsession with death in Grim Reapers, right? We had the dead doodle like floating over the cemetery. We have the time Grim Reaper, and now the sleep paralysis demon. Like, bro, what's with all the darkness? You know? Where'd that come from?
Why do we think it's BT? It's definitely like someone on Golden Wolf's team. I don't think BT
Who
does.
he is the creative director for.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, they
Maybe
usually got like a
both.
darker edge to everything. I think I've seen that's come out of them.
So, oh,
BT
you're right.
does have a dark edge, I will say.
So BT does have a dark edge, but also Golden Wolf has offices in New York and London, traditionally cold, rainy, maybe full of Grim Reapers, potentially.
Are you making a weather comparison to people being?
I'm just saying in London, it rains 300 days a year. So you're about to have some more occurrence of sleep
You're
paralysis
more
demons.
down bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like what does art reflect life or life reflect art or society, whatever the fucking saying is? Grim Reapers in your doodles animation. That's all I'm saying.
Well, but to be fair, like, what are the bits? Like, I guess it's just, if anything, right? It's just showing different emotions of hap, right? We've
He was
always
also
just kind of.
Thomas was also born in Canada, so he naturally feels like death is like more of an ideal outcome for him. That's well. It's just
Well, due
Yeah,
to
so
the
conscious of that.
long waits of the medical care system, death, I imagine the statistics are against you.
Oh gosh.
Just
Well,
like being born so close to the greatest country on earth, but not in the greatest country on earth, has to weigh on the person's soul.
Hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, as
that's just.
as Bruce Almighty would say.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles. And he's just like, fuck my life, dude. I live in Canada. Shit.
All right, gang. So you heard it here first. Sesh by the end of the month, except that you didn't hear that here first, but you heard it here again. And yeah, for those who checked it out, hopefully you got some good insight from the studio, from Austin. I think it was a really fun conversation. Hopefully we see more Grim Reapers in our future, more hourglasses, which when hourglass wearable, just saying. And yeah, so hopefully it's gonna be fun end of the year, and definitely looks like it's gonna be exciting Q1 2024. And yeah, hopefully we get some more news on the incubator in this next sesh. So as the ink tank, we can talk about the incubator. Know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to Ultra Para. I love your new PFP.
Oh my gosh.
We'll
Yeah.
see you guys here.
So spooky.
Same time, same place next week for Ink Tank episode 20. Great to have everybody come through.
Burry, just for you.
Thank you.
As you go about your week, let us remember, think not of what doodles can do for you, but what can you do for doodles?
Yes.
Love you.
Yes.
Love you.